Good evening, everybody. This is Ramon again, bold like a leopard. We're going to make one final video today, kind of talking about the state of the left opposition in the United States today. I'm going to try to remain a little more objective than I usually am, but once in a while I'm going to have to throw in a little gloating. So, one of the big stories I have on the left, it has to be on the left. All my videos are on the left. But on the left is Bernie Sanders, of course, talking to one of these geeks from Face the Nation on CBS about a topic that's unrelated to today's topic. This was a video more about the Scalise shooting. And I think in that case, Bernie Sanders was technically caught in the crosshairs, if you pardon the pun, of a situation not really of his doing. I think that the guy who executed the shooting was not really that typical of the Bernie Sanders crowd. I know I'm kind of being devil's advocate here, but the majority of Bernie Sanders supporters don't seem to fit that profile. I'm just saying out of my perception, and I don't think that you can blame Bernie Sanders for that. And believe me, I don't give a fuck about Bernie Sanders. I think he's an asshole, and I don't support anything he does. But the real problem that they're dealing with today in the Sanders camp is that he is considered to be under FBI investigation, at least according to a couple sources. I don't know how official it is. I can't guarantee that it's true. Hold on. It says Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont. I love it how they still say he's independent. It's very convenient to call yourself an independent and then run for office under a political party and then return to being an independent right after you lose, which doesn't really make any sense to me. He's, for all intents and purposes, a collaborator and part of the Democratic machine. Even if he pretends that he's more of a progressive voice than them, there really are people in the Democratic Party today that are progressive voices. They may not be in positions of power. Tulsi Gabbard is, I'd say I respect her more than Bernie Sanders, to be honest with you. Political magazine first reported the Sanders had hired lawyers to defend them in the probe. Sanders' top advisor, Jeff Weaver, told CBS News that the couple has sought legal protection over federal agents' allegations from a January 2016 complaint accusing then-president of Burlington College, Miss Sanders, that's Jane O'Mara Sanders, who is Bernie Sanders' wife, of distorting donor levels in a 2010 application for $10 million from People's United Bank to purchase 33 acres of land for the institution. According to Politico, prosecutors might also be looking into allegations that Sanders' office inappropriately urged the bank to approve the loan. So that's something new that I hadn't heard of, okay? Burlington attorney and Sanders supporter Rich Cassidy has reportedly been hired to represent Senator Sanders and high-profile Washington defense attorney Larry Robbins, who counseled Louis Scooter Libby, former chief of staff to Vice President Dick Cheney, is protecting Jane Sanders. So it looks like the wife is probably in a little more of a pickle than Senator Sanders. Miss Sanders' push for the liberal arts college's costly land acquisition was cited in a press release by the college when it shut down in 2016. Brady Tunzing of Burlington. Brady Tunzing of Burlington, the man responsible for the claims filed to the U.S. Attorney for Vermont, was a chairman for the Trump campaign in his state, and he was a longtime Republican operative. I filed a request for an investigation in January 2016, and an investigation appears to have been started right away, he said in an email to CBS News. It was started under President Obama, his Attorney General, and his U.S. Attorney, all of whom are Democrats. My only hope is for a fair, impartial, and thorough investigation, Tenzing added. Weaver told CBS News that Tenzing's claims that Senator Sanders uses influence to lobby for the loan is a political charge that is baseless and false. And as for the claim that Smith-Sanders manipulated, geez. Come on. Come on. Fucking browser. So anyway, the rest of this article, if we can't get this damn scroll lock to work, basically amounts to one of Sanders' deputies, this Jeff Weaver, covering for him and claiming, "Oh, Bernie didn't do nothing." You know, that's the usual comment, that Bernie didn't do anything. Here, Weaver said the loan was approved by the financial board of the college. Senator Sanders, formerly mayor of Burlington, Vermont's largest city, regards the claims as a political game levied against him after his run for president in the 2016 primary election, a platform which has transformed the small state senator into an influential voice in American liberal politics. So, you know, it's going to be kind of counterpoint from here. I'm not going to use any more sources. I did watch a little of a H.A. Goodman video on this, which H.A. Goodman is always saying, "Oh, Bernie's not under investigation." I think he is under investigation. However, let's remember, you know, to Goodman's point, or whoever else, Tenzing is a Republican operative. So this is, to some degree, partisan investigation, at least at the generation point. The other thing I want to take note of is that the Sanders, even if these allegations are true, this is kind of a mild scandal compared to the allegations against the Clintons and the allegations against Donald Trump. I don't think that Bernie Sanders, I mean, this would kind of be a scumbag move, but the real scumbag move was allowing the DNC to take the campaign donations that his donors had sent to him in their small payments. That would be the real scandal for me, and that lawsuit, I think, is more crucial to my perception of Bernie Sanders than this. If his wife were to be convicted, I think it would be a bigger scandal for him, though, because it would definitely hurt his credibility, at least in his own mind. I think that he is a little easier to shake than necessarily some of the more hard-boiled scumbag politicians that are out there. Not that I'm saying he's a clean politician. I'm just saying that he doesn't seem as much of a tough customer when it comes to taking personal attacks as other people that I've seen in the political sphere. He did survive for a long time, and he did take a lot of licks from the mainstream press, but ultimately he did cave and he buckled, and this intimidation worked on him because he did endorse Hillary Clinton, even though he knew full well that she's standing for the opposite of what he was campaigning for as a far left, reformer. Another note, going beyond just the Bernie aspect of this, is that we're reaching a real crisis point that is beyond the crisis point of the past in the Democratic Party, which is what's going to happen to this party now that it is basically running out of, it's running out of bouts to have with Donald Trump. How many opportunities now are they going to have to really stick it to him and have successes? The travel ban is going to go to the Supreme Court. There is a very high likelihood that Donald Trump will have his travel ban upheld. I hate to break it to all of you liberal theorists out there. There isn't really a legal standing to keep him from instituting this ban as an executive order. And the Supreme Court, if you haven't noticed, is now, at least on paper, in favor of a lot of his positions, because a lot of the strict constitutionalists First of all, the strict constitutionalists now have a majority on the court, and there's also one swing justice, Anthony Kennedy, who might soon be gone and replaced by another of these strict constitutionalists. So it's a reality here. The next issue, the healthcare reform, could be changing within the next week. If it isn't changing, it's more a Republican defeat than a Democratic victory, and it would be it wouldn't really save the Democrats. It would more cause an internal conflict within the Republican Party. So it could, indirectly benefit the Democrats, but I don't believe that they're really going to get some sort of boost from that. It would kind of be a major source of upheaval with the Democrats and the Republicans, what to do about health care, how to save Obamacare if they can, which I've said in video after video, you can't save it unless you embark on a tremendous amount of corporate bribery and bailouts in order to save Obamacare as it stands now. Other issues with Democrats, the House caucus for the Democrats, the House Democratic Leadership Committee, or whatever you call it, is now undergoing some turmoil in the press. There's people that are calling for Nancy Pelosi to resign. My personal opinion is that Nancy Pelosi is still capable of fending off these attacks. Why? I don't know. Well, I do know, but I don't know how people still continue to believe she's going to be a success. That's what I'm trying to say. I know why she's able to stay in power. Everybody talks about how she's a fundraising dynamo and whatever. That's only part of the issue. The real issue is that all the rest of the Democratic Party does not have leadership, especially in the House. The main challenger to her for this House leadership was this representative named Tim Ryan, who is from the Youngstown area in Ohio, this place called Niles. And Tim Ryan is not like the most outstanding Democrat. He's kind of a middle of the road politician. I think in the past he would have been called a blue dog member of the Democratic Party, a little more on the conservative side. Almost the blue dogs have kind of evaporated in the past 10 years due to the Obama administration, but they know that in order for the Democrats to ever build on what they have now, they do need to reach out to certain the publics that they haven't been. Some have said that it should be a centrist approach that will go out to embrace these people. Other people say, on the Sanders camp, that you do need a progressive voice in favor of universal health care and college education especially, that will go out there and recruit people. Which one's going to succeed? I really couldn't tell you. I think they're both kind of way behind in the game, because the Trump strategy worked fantastically. Even if he didn't win in Youngstown, which is a heavily union city, he made tremendous gains from previous Republican candidates. So the Democratic Party has a lot of work cut out for it. And I can guarantee you that in the next election, regardless of who the candidate is, Donald Trump could be making even stronger gains in districts like Niles's, not Niles, Tim Ryan's district. So what these people are doing is that they're seeing the hourglass running out for them. They know that until now they've been able to get elected because they're the party of Obama and the party of the unions. Maybe the Clintons had some residual support there. That's going to be falling steadily apart. There's nobody left who really fits that type of description in these blue-collar areas, especially when you're talking about midterm elections. He knows that he's kind of vulnerable there, even though he's not somebody who's really considered one of these loony lefties over in Youngstown. But the public over there, they'd be easy to convince that he's too much of a lackey of Nancy Pelosi, even though it's not true. Another reason why I think she could survive: the opposition to Nancy Pelosi within the Democratic Party is vocal and it's pretty solid, but it's not united. On the one hand, you have people like Ryan who are towards the center. So if let's say, I guess if Tim Ryan were elected House Minority Leader, you would have Tim Ryan as House Minority Leader and Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House, whatever. But he doesn't have much support behind him because he remains in the political center of the party. Now, if Democrats were smart, they would nominate somebody at least on his side, or maybe further on the progressive side, on the opposite side to him, in order to succeed Pelosi. They're not that forward-thinking. They know that under Pelosi they can have as much power as they want. I'm talking about the Black Caucus in particular. They have a tremendous amount of power within the House leadership, even though in many cases these are politicians that are basically living off of their own constituents' lack of engagement. You have a lot of these CBC politicians that are just elected out of routine. Nobody even bothers to go to vote in some of these cases, which is why these districts often don't pack as much punch as they used to, especially in the midterms. But those people are comfortable. They can just keep getting reelected again and again and again. As long as Nancy Pelosi can steer all sorts of dirty business to them, they don't care if she remains leader. They don't care if they don't get back into the House majority, because for them it's the easy life the way it is. All they have to do is show up, pretend to resist Trump, and then when he wins, they're able to carry back to their residents. Hey, look at me! I'm standing up to the man. I'm standing up to Whitey. With Nancy Pelosi, that type of status quo is very easy to preserve. With the next leader, nobody really knows. And then on the left side of the spectrum in the House, you have Tulsi Gabbard. Doesn't really have much support outside of her own office to become a leading member of the House Democratic delegation. And the Black Caucus itself has a lot of far-left members, but they're fine with Nancy Pelosi. So it's going to be very, very, very difficult for even a strong Democratic challenger to dislodge her until, for some reason, she decides to retire. Okay, so we talked about Pelosi. We talked a little about this issue with Bernie Sanders. There's the Keith Ellison and Tom Perez issue, which is going to continue to fester, in my opinion. I don't think it's really as much a get between them and against each other now as it is this situation where Perez continues to just take L after L after L, losing to the Democrats. Losing to the Republicans in all of these special elections, crisscrossing the country and getting booed off stage. And eventually, I think towards the midterms or afterward, he is going to resign or get fired somehow as head of the DNC. He doesn't have what it takes to reform the party, and I don't think it's really his fault necessarily. This isn't somebody who can work miracles, but he's just woefully inadequate. He shows up at these rallies, talks in platitudes. He's far less inspiring than many of the other Democratic leaders, especially Gabbard and Sanders, who continues to refuse to admit he's a Democrat, but he's more inspiring to these people than any of their own Democratic politicians. So that's it for Tom Perez. And what about Ellison, the guy he beat out to be the DNC chair? This guy is steadily just selling out more and more and more. I saw, a Jimmy Dore clip of him. He's selling out to the corporate Democrats. He's supposed to be a Sanders stooge. He's become a complete DNC stooge. So whatever happens, if And I'm saying if, to signify, I'm not predicting any of these things are for sure going to happen, but if Tom Perez were to resign or get ousted as DNC chair, the natural candidate, if you really think about it, would be Keith Ellison because he's deputy chair. Who knows? I don't really know if that's going to happen because a lot of these Democrats are paranoid that Ellison is going to come in and scare away some of their favorite donors and whatever. Even though he himself is now a corporate whore, he's committed to a certain perspective on the Middle East in terms of Israel-Palestine agenda. I've never had a problem with certain Congress members having that agenda, me personally, but it does hurt you politically within both parties. So just be aware of that. I'm not saying that he wouldn't deserve to be Democratic leader. I'm just saying it would pose a major problem for the party, especially the centrist part of the party. And the progressives already don't trust him because he's sold out to the lobbyists. So that's bad news for him. It's bad news for the Democrats overall. You see here, I think I've picked out 4 leaders within the party. 5 if you count Tim Ryan, which is not really the case. I think he's just fighting for survival. But these are 4 leaders. They're in a very bad way now. You have Pelosi, you have Sanders, you have Perez, and you have Ellison. And this signifies that this party is undergoing a change where they will have to really spade up the earth and deliver somebody new, somebody more dynamic that could take the party over into the next era. I don't think they're going to find somebody who's of the caliber to fight Donald Trump. But, it's been a lot of surprises in the past couple of years. So we'll see what happens. For all you Democrats out there, screw you. You should probably look for some better alternative. Even if it has Democratic beliefs, it doesn't have to be a corrupt, rotting carcass like the Democratic Party is. So people should start thinking about, instead of depending on Bernie to do the work for them and reform the party, they should probably join one of these other phony baloney parties that's going on. At least the worst thing that could happen is that you get the Democrats to start listening to you. Okay, I'm not saying that you're going to suddenly cause a giant earthquake and a revolution and take over American politics, but you can at least provoke the Democrats into some soul searching and finding ways to appear less inauthentic. So that's it for today. It's Ramon, Bold Like a Leopard. Subscribe to my channel. Go to my Facebook page, hit the like. Let me know what your ideas are. If you think one of these scenarios that I've put out is incorrect, you can watch the Goodman clip. I think he makes a couple good points. I'm willing to entertain that maybe the Sanders aren't under that serious of an investigation, but we'll find out soon. I do believe in innocent until proven guilty, so we'll see what happens with those guys. Even though I could care less what happens to them, because I don't like the Sanders candidate. I don't like Bernie Sanders as a senator. I don't like him as a candidate, and I don't like him as a person. So, but innocent until proven guilty, that applies to everybody. So we'll see what happens. Have a great night. This is Ramon, Bold Like a Leopard. And, just keep watching the chaos.